Peace and blessings, family. It is yours truly, Amari. I'm the founder of El Kelbalan in the Alliance, where we focus on your spiritual and your physical, as well as your financial well-being. My queen, Amari, is the co-founder, and I hope everybody week has been going well. On today, we're going to be talking about Nia. We're going to be talking about our purpose on today, one of the fifth principles of Kwanzaa, and that is to restore the African people back to our traditional greatness and to be responsible to our ancestors and to our children as well as our grandchildren. Kwanzaa is celebrated on December the 26th through January the 1st. Okay, it is not a alternative for Christmas. Let that be understood. As I aforementioned, that the title of this session today will be about purpose. It'll be about the reason why it is so important for us to be restored to our African traditional. And it's very, very important that you keep in mind about the traditional piece. I'm going to expound on that here in a minute, and we're going to get into it. Okay, so again, it's to restore African people back to their traditional greatness and to be responsible to our Agungun ancestors, Yoruba Agungun, that is ancestors, and to our children as well as our grandchildren. Okay, traditionally, in our culture, we as the elders, and for those of you who are parents, you're elders in your own right because you have a child or you have children. So it is your responsibility traditionally to train up your children in the way that they should go, so when they grow older, they won't depart from it. Okay? It is our responsibility for us to teach our children our culture, and it is our responsibility for us to find out what that is if we don't know what that looks like. Okay? Once I came into the knowledge of self, and I'm not here to degrade anybody, okay? This is not a message about beating people down. This is about us highlighting things that's going to bring us all into the knowledge of the truth as one, okay? Once I came into the knowledge of who I really am, the knowledge of self, not only did I had to know for myself, but I had to, the knowledge of self, but I had to know for myself, rather. And so when I came to the knowledge of self, I found out these things myself about what my actual culture is. I spoke to one of my elders in my family, matter of fact, multiple elders in my family, and I come to find out exactly what my bloodline is. Now, me, myself, personally, I'm not just African, okay? I actually have Tsagala in my blood, which some of you know as to be Cherokee. Okay, so once I found these things out about me being Akan, being Asante, it was then my responsibility for me to search and to find out what our culture is. And our culture encompasses our spirituality, tradition, social skills, food, music, dance, order. We learn how things work as we deal with our elders, how we're supposed to speak to them, I'm also Yoruba when I did my research, okay, again through family members as well, and again just finding these things out. And once I found these things out, I personally have recognized that I may have looked like an African, but at that time I had a European head, if you will. Okay. Outwardly, you can tell I'm African. There's no doubt about it. I don't believe anybody will question that sees me. But I had recognized that I wasn't in touch with who I actually am. And I found out that wasn't, an American. Cut off the American at the end of African, because those are two different people, two different nations. You know what I'm saying? And I know some will say, that we are American. That's definitely debatable, okay? Because it is a historical fact known that they named America that even after, we came. So we're not that. We were African before we were even labeled as black, or even American. In fact, we associated ourselves with actually the people we are. Like, for instance, I'm a Khan, okay? I'm a Santi. So if you were asked an African person that has not been colonized who they are, that's what they will tell you, okay? And I have been blessed by a gungun for me to be able to be connected to brothers and sisters that are organically from Africa, okay, and to be able to have this dialogue with them, and I converse with them about how do they do business. And so I pride myself on actually talking to people that's from there. In fact, my Mwalemu, that's Swahili for teacher, taught me about our tradition. Okay, he's Ghanaian, he's a part of the Fanti and the Ewe. Okay, and he taught me Ewe Chi. Okay, I also learned Asante Chi. Okay, and so that's where, when I say Oba, if you hear me say, Oba, Oba pretty much is Nigerian, but when you go Ohini, okay, that's king. If you hear me say Ohima, what I'm saying, that's queen. And then I come to find out that the reason why people spell queen with a K instead of a Q is because in the tree, in the Yoruba tongue, there's no Q. So you really don't actually spell queen that way. If you was to translate it into the English, it would still be a K because there's no Q. And so I had to be restored back to the way we actually did business before we were enslaved. We're actually prisoners of war. That's what our ancestors were. Prisoners of war. Okay? And so we have to Sankofa, not go back and fetch that which we lost. I always have to correct that. I know some people say that, but your culture, you don't lose your culture. Okay, it can't be misplaced. To say you lose something means you misplaced it. Okay, we didn't misplace our culture. We didn't lose our culture. We were cut off from our culture. Okay, and it's imperative for us to reconnect with the motherland, because that is all of our mother. Okay, throughout the diaspora globally, we all, whether Jamaican, from the Bahamas, Barbados, okay, Haiti, South America, in the UK, in England, wherever we are initially, we are African first before anything else, because any other place that we have been dispersed to, we all came from Africa. Okay, and why is this important? Because as our fifth principle says, Nia, our purpose. What is the purpose? What was the purpose of creating Kwanzaa? To restore us, the African, back to their traditional greatness. So in other words, it's for us to go back to our traditional practices, our spirituality, our culture. Okay, and in the midst of that, we still have to be careful about embracing certain cultural practices, because some of those practices are actually demeaning of women. And when you start doing your research appropriately, I know a lot of people like to give that credit to Europeans, but that's not always the case. And that's why it's so important for us to do our searching in some cases for those who never searched, and to research for those who have researched. And it is a historical fact that Thomas Sankara and Julius Nyerere, okay, they were leaders over in the motherland. Thomas Sankara, is the one that was the president of Burkina Faso. He was the one who actually defeated the French there, and he renamed it Burkina Faso. It was called Upper Volta, okay, until he took it over. Peace and blessings be upon him. And also Julius Nyerere, Tanzania, okay, and they both made it their business to restore our queen mothers to, in the Yoruba tongue, Olari, okay, and the Chi, okay, tongue is, the Ohima, okay, our queens, and to put them back in their rightful position. This is the reason why, because traditionally our women are highly regarded, okay, especially if you look into the Wodabi, you know what I'm saying, Wodabe, and if I'm spelling it wrong, then the Google will correct it. But if you look up the Wodabi, okay, you will come to find that those women are empowered. Okay, they can marry as many men as they want to. So what does our culture actually look like? See, this is the reason why we have to search and research. Because when you deal with the Wodabi, the women can marry as many men as they want to. They can have as many husbands as they want to. Okay? And then in some of our cultures, that's polyandry. Then in some of our cultures, polygamy, the men can do the same. And so it is to restore us back to our African mind, because we condemn those type of things due to us being colonized. Okay? And for the most part, it's due to the religion of the European. A lot of things that we are not receptive to, that we reject, is because of us not being in the African mind. Any of us who was raised in that culture, in that atmosphere, would never look at that as being wrong. But we call it wrong because we are listening to people. We have ideologies that are non-African that we have been taught. And we have to unlearn those things. And we have to be restored back to the mindset of the African. Most of our problems that we have is because we're not in touch with our African mind. I have evidence. Look at how we socialize with one another. Do you really think that prior to us being enslaved, that we actually conducted ourselves in the manner in which we do today? The way that we conduct ourselves towards our elders, the way that we act as elders as well, in the presence of young people, is appalling. And it's disheartening. And it's sad. It doesn't make me angry. Why? Because we've been brainwashed. There's no need for me to be upset with family members who are brainwashed, people who are sleeping, they're not cognizant of their conduct, and not understanding the aftermath of our conduct, and not to see the destruction of our misconduct. It's harming us as a people collectively. Anything that is of corruption is a weapon of mass destruction for our people. Any mindset that will have us to degrade our women and to have no regard and to not hold ourselves responsible for our conduct is not the African mind. See, the problem is we don't understand accountability. We think that it's just individuality. This is why the principle Ujima, Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Making our brothers, sisters' problems our problems and solving them together. Now that's Umoja. Okay, that's Umoja. That's Umoja. That's unity. And see, then it's important to go into Kuji Chagalia because it's self-determination. But in Kuji Chagalia, you know what it says? It says that we define ourselves. We speak for ourselves. Why is it important for us to define ourselves? Because then we will understand that we're not American. If we understand that we are African and associated with all of our people over in Africa, there is a culture that's affiliated with the people that we come from, then we will better understand that the mentalities that we have are certainly not African mentalities. Listen, I know some of you may say, well, Brother Amar, you know, some of them over there are in the same mentality. Absolutely, family. I totally agree with you. I don't even argue that. But here's what I argue. I argue that if we had not had a disruption of our culture, then I argue we would not be in the mentality that we have today. Because why? We would be home. And if we were all home, then we would never have been raised in the manner in which that we have been raised, because all of us would know exactly who we are, because we would still be in our homelands, in our home countries, learning our customs. I call this past interference. What happened was when our ancestors tried to teach our traditions, they would get murdered, tortured, and they would be forbidden. Remember, that's why I say we were cut off. So the reason why we don't distinctly know exactly where we come from is because of that reason. Now, I personally believe that gangster rap would not have existed. I argue this, and this is my argument, that that tool has become a weapon of mass destruction that has further caused us to destroy one another. We already know that we were already destroying ourselves prior to that. It just intensified the self-destruction. We must regain our morals. See, we must understand, and a lot of people just think that there's nothing to us finding out who we are. It doesn't matter. But it matters very much so. And because of the chaos that we see in our villages, is unfortunately a perfect example that I must use to bring to your attention because of the immoral conduct of our people. And I also argue that we are causing more harm to ourselves in this modern day time than a racist is, because of self-hatred. If you actually talk to somebody organically from Africa that lives in an area where they have not been colonized, okay, I guarantee you, you will come to find that the way that they associate with one another and the way they interact with one another is not like the way those of us who are over in America, who are African. It is not the same. The conduct is not the same. For those who are still in touch, and this is how I know, because I have friends okay, that are organically from Africa, and they teach me our culture. I have a friend who's a bona fide Prince, Prince Adderley. Okay. I have another friend, you know what I'm saying, again, who's from there, Brother Kwame. Okay, and then again, my teacher, Mama Alemu, Dr. AK, who was of the Ewe and the Fanti Akan people. And they teach me. And so the reason why I'm on here is to share with you what I have learned so we can come and reason together as a family. This is a family discussion. This program is a Nia-inspired program. It's to restore us back to our culture, our African traditional greatness. The reason why you see me dressed like this is because my consciousness has evolved. This is not a fad. It is not because of the Black Panther. It is because I have come to an awareness of who I am. I already knew where I came from, but I need to know exactly what people. Now, what I'm wearing right now is actually Senegal. It came from Senegal. And so I wore this to demonstrate the oneness of us as a people. Because again, my bloodline, I'm a Khan, I'm a Santi. But I wanted to demonstrate the oneness of our people because, again, Africa is all of our mother. We all suck from the breast of our mother, Mama Africa. If you look at a lot of us in America or throughout the diaspora and you go over to Africa, you will see that a lot of us look just alike. Like Mama Alemu, my teacher, we look just like, well, we are brothers. But I'm just saying, like, you would literally think if we told you that, we were biological brothers, you would believe us. That's how much we favor one another. My good brother, Daliana Dafo, he's also Ghanaian. And if you looked at us, you would think, if we were standing, you would think that we were biological. We are. We are blood. We are family. But we all come from there. And this is critical for us to get in touch with our morals because morals build uwapele. Okay, Yoruba for good character. Okay, or gentle character. We have to regain that. We are responsible to each other. And because of us not thinking that, we get into these arguments. We get upset with our brothers and our sisters when they hold us accountable, when we're not doing anything for our people, but yet we have our hand out. Or they're not doing anything for our people, yet they solicit for our votes. It is our responsibility to hold one another accountable. That is literally the African way. But because we have been severed from our African mind, this is the reason why it's so much chaos. A lot of us don't understand that it's so much chaos because we have been cut off from the morals of the African man and woman. Look at the way the parents conduct themselves. And then the children or the child is a mirror image of the immoral character of his or her parents in some cases. Not all, but in some. And for the most part, I guarantee you that is the lack of moral teaching in the household. Because in order for a home to stand, it must stand on a solid foundation. This is the reason why it's imperative for us as African people to reconnect with our morals as Africans, because the way we conduct ourselves is conduct unbecoming of an African. What's going on in South Africa, them killing Nigerians. Like as if though we're totally different people. Is a brainwash mentality. And what we see is from the outcome of being in that mindset, we see chaos. We're seeing self-destruction. Kuji Chagalia, we have the ability for us to do great things. But the problem is our people over in Africa, they don't recognize the position of power that they have as it relates to economic power. For as we all know, that the resources within this world globally comes from Mama Africa. We birthed these things, our cell phones. Okay, has agricultural items, if you will, that is utilized for the cell phones. Health products like the coconut, the cola nut. The cola nut will actually help men with their sexual issues that they're having, and also good health issues as well. But the cola nut can be used. It is a holistic way to help a man to be able to deal with erectional dysfunction. We have so many resources there. And see, we understand that the reason why the African gives up their footing is because they don't know their what? Their value. Why is it that we keep allowing people to come into our country and to buy up land? But yet, if an African from America tries to come in there and to do something, they treat us like we're a foreigner. And in fact, some of them call us foreigners. When Mama Africa is our mother. And our ancestors come from Africa. Can we really truly see the chaos that this is causing? Can we really see how critical it is for us to reconnect with our culture? Do we really see that? Think about how we steal from each other, how we rob each other, how we kill each other, how we not only kill each other with guns, with weaponry, but how we kill each other with our mouths. There is things that some of you don't even know that people have done to me that I haven't even gotten on here and called their name out about. You know why? Because we're family, and family business should be handled internally. If I have an issue with my brother, I'm going to go to my brother or my sister with that problem. But we spend a lot of time trying to make our brother look bad. Like, for instance, I want to use Benjamin Crump as an example. A lot of people talk about him and talk about how he hasn't won any case, right? This is what a lot of people say. Like, oh, he hasn't won any case. He hasn't. Okay, family. This is the reason why it's so important for us to understand how politics work. The juror, okay, those who are jurors, they're the ones that makes the decision, but the judge is the one that ultimately makes up the decision. It's not the lawyer. And we bite on the bait when somebody of well-known status, because they're a well-known cultural teacher, if you will, or they produce movies, okay, for the community, we just get so caught up in that to where we don't take out the time to use our common sense. See, I'm trying to be as respectful as I possibly can because this is a family discussion. Okay? So I'm trying to be as respectful as I possibly can. A lot of us, we speak ignorantly. We don't know the whole matter before we come to a conclusion. Okay? Just like the issue with Dr. Umar Johnson. This brother was facing all type of issues while he was trying to build the facility. He was trying to build the school, and now he has the facility. Now everybody who spoke ill about our brother looked like a bunch of fools. The same thing with Jay Morrison. When Jay Morrison built up a crowded fund, people kept saying, it's a hoax. Oh, it's this and that. But when he started buying up those properties and having the business partners there with him, the Tulsa Real Estate Investment Fund members, okay, there with him, okay, and when he started having people who actually started buying properties through the crowdfunding, people got quiet. It is so sad that we attack each other. It is so sad that we slay each other with our mouths. And not even understanding what is actually going on, not even knowing the whole matter. We going off of what people saying on social media and everything else like that. Do you not know that Brother Jay Morrison won that case too? Do you not understand that? Do you not know when they falsely accused him, okay, of misappropriating funds? Do you not know he won that case? Do you not know that my wife and I are Tulsa real estate investors? We invested in it. I have another family member that invested in it too. But people talk without knowing the whole matter before they come to a conclusion. Do you not know he was a part of the reason why? Me listening to his program, I have his curriculum here. Do you not know he's a part of the reason why my queen and I are so successful in real estate, outside of giving thanks to Ola Dumare and the Goon Goon for blessing us in our own work? But a part of the educational tools that we utilize was actually information that he shared to help us to purchase real estate as real estate investors. But we talk, not knowing the whole matter. Let me backtrack. Let me go back to Brother Benjamin Crump. Remember, like I said before, the juror makes the decision, and then do you not understand that the judge has the power? Okay, in some courts, you got to research various states and how it works within the protocol of court. But for the most part, the judge can actually overrule whatever the juror says, in which he or she sees or deems as being fit. Now, riddle me this. What does that have to do with the lawyer? Let me ask you something. Was anybody saying that? Was anybody beating up the lawyer for Trayvon Martin? Or was it because, the evidence was vividly clear about what Zimmerman had did, and it was very obvious that they sided with the European person? Why is it that we can't understand that? Why is it that we can't understand that even if Benjamin Crump wanted the case to go up to the Supreme Court, why can't we understand that there's racist people sitting on the Supreme Court that 45 put in place so they can continue their racist agenda? But we beat our brother up like as if though he have control over the decision of the juror or the judge. A lot of people don't even understand how the presidency works. That there are certain things, when bills are written and passed, there's certain power that a president has, and there's a certain power that the Senate actually has, that certain things that the president wants to do, it has to go through the Senate before it's approved. Now, some people may say, oh, look at when Trump came in there, when he wrote a bill, they just blessed it. Of course. Because they're in cahoots. When are we going to figure this out? When are we going to figure that they have their own people in all the political parties? When are we going to understand that? When are we going to understand? Do you not know there's a certain percentage? Because I don't want to give you the wrong percentage because it escapes me at this time. But do you not know that there's a certain percentage for something to be vetoed? Do you understand that? Do you understand there has to be a certain percentage of the House that says whether or not something can go forward or not? This is the reason why it's important for us to be savvy how things function politically. And a lot of us don't even know that the governor actually writes the state constitution. Did you know that? Did you know that the governor is the one that writes? Did you know that there was a state constitution? That the governor writes the state constitution? What are you trying to say, Amar? This is for those people who don't believe that we should get involved in politics, because when you're in politics, you write policy. Although we're going to be only in that office for 4 to 8 years, well, we can do something while we're in position in those 4 to 8 years that's going to benefit our people. Look at Sister Keisha down in Georgia if you don't believe me. Okay? Look at what our people are doing down in Georgia. Okay, when they get in power. Look at what happens, those who have our people's best interests at heart. This is why we need our foot in the door. So we can make a difference. And I'm talking about people who are not, understand me, people who are not brainwashed. That's very important, because it don't matter if they look like us, if they're Oreo cookie. But if you have somebody that's like us in position, then they can make a difference. This is the reason why we need to stop telling our children not to get degrees. Because in order for them to be judges and lawyers, they have to have degrees. They have to pass the bar exam. They won't even be taken serious. They be laughed at. They trying to take a bar exam and they don't even have a degree in law. So how can they make a difference without having the proper legal credentialing for them to do so, or even being a doctor? Do you understand they get sued for malpractice if they don't have, the proper credentialings to be able to practice medicine? Do you understand that? So we got to stop telling, and the reason why I'm saying this, family, this is a family discussion, okay? We got to be very wise in what we say. If they're going to go to a college, they need to go to an HBCU. That's where they need to be going. Okay? Now, that's all I'm saying. I would never tell our people never to go get that don't make sense, because I understand certain positions and certain in law and in medicine and society requires for them to have certain certifications for them to be able to do certain things. Okay? If our people going to do construction and what have you, they have to have licenses. They got to get licenses. Okay? They need licenses for that. So we need credentialing. Okay, so this is the only way we can start our own businesses, and this is the only way our businesses, I'm not saying they won't get shut down, because we all know how that goes. I'm just saying you have more of a chance of your business staying open if you're doing business right. This is all I'm saying. And now we're talking about Ujamaa. That's why I'm doing this. This is a purpose. It's purpose. So it's the purpose of this organization is to bring us into these realizations. That's called cooperative economics. And if we're going to do this, then we got to teach people how to do business right. To teach our people about LLCs. This is something we need to all understand, okay? Let me break it down to you. When you talk about a 501c3, we talk about this stuff all the time as if though it's something bad. Do you not know your paycheck get taxed federal dollars for a 501c3? Do you understand that? We keep talking about, oh, they're getting support. Dude, you're getting taxed. You're getting federal taxes coming out of your check. These things are federally funded. The state gets the money from the federal government. And you pay federal taxes. So why shouldn't we get a piece of the pie? Why wouldn't we want to get the grants that specifically cater towards African males and females? Did you not know that? Do you not know that there's grants? This is why we need, our black treasures within our communities. This is the reason why we need people in position so we can get what's rightfully ours. There's funding that is actually allotted to these schools, but they're not getting the money because of misappropriating of funds. So if you get people in a position of power that actually care about the people, then there will be no misappropriation of funds, and then we'll see our schools, being taken care of. Now, listen, in the meantime, we do need to bring together our dollars. Those who are wealthy, those who are wealthy, because see, this is not like an antiquity family where our ancestors was building colleges and you got to understand how the economy was back then. Look at the way inflation is now. So it's going to take some serious money for us to build our own schools. And these are good ideas, but it's more than a notion, as my Ohima would say, my queen. It's more than a notion. So we got to remember these teachers have to be paid. So who's going to pay these teachers? Because they got to feed their families too, don't they? Don't they have bills to pay too? Right? So all these things sound so good and great. But guess the reason, this is the reason why I'm talking about Nia, our purpose, is to restore us back to our African mind so we could go back to the mentality of cooperative economics. And then we can go back to Ujamaa, because now we have collective work and responsibility, and we see that we are responsible to one another. But until we are restored back to our African principles, we will continue to be divided, and we will continue to face what we're facing on a daily basis, and we will continue to mourn our loved ones until we bind together, until we have umoja, which is unity. And until we have amani, which is faith in one another. And we could come together with kaumba, with creativity, and then we could make our communities more beautiful than it is before we inherited it. And if it's not beautiful, then we can beautify it. How can we do that? By umoja, by ujamaa, and by imani, and by ujamaa, cooperative economics. So these 7 principles of Kwanzaa can literally put the African man, woman, and children in a better position if we apply these 7 principles. And we must also understand that these principles existed before Baba Malena Karange before he even came on the scene, because Kwanzaa existed before him. You must understand that Kwanzaa is a festivity of the first harvest. Okay, he just took an African word, which is Swahili, okay, to restore us back to our African minds. But that already existed before. He didn't create Kwanzaa. You got to understand it. That's why I say you got to research. Kwanzaa existed before Baba Karange even came on the scene. Because again, it's actually the harvest, and it's when our people came together and they celebrated the harvest, and we came together to rejoice and to thank, you know what I'm saying, the universe for blessing us, Mama Earth for blessing us, and also celebrating our ancestors. And we have the children involved, and we give gifts, and we have a good time, and we celebrate our blessings throughout that year together. So also Kwanzaa, what it does is it restores us back to our family orientation, because without the children, it is incomplete. Why? Because they are the ones who pass this information on from generation to generation. And this is the reason why our grandmothers and our grandfathers and our great-greats, in some cases, okay, but those who didn't preserve the traditions, okay, this is the reason why we today in modern day time are in the state that we're in, because we have not yet been restored back to the African mind. Peace, love, power to all the people. Thank you all for tuning in. Remember that our celebration is coming up. Okay, our celebration, not Christmas. That's not our celebration. Okay, that's a European holiday. And again, remember, Kwanzaa is not a substitute for Christmas. The purpose of it is Nia. The purpose is to restore the African, okay, back to their traditional greatness, back into the African mind. And it is celebrated December the 26th through January the 1st. I also will be coming out a video with Kwanzaa, the actual items that's utilized for Kwanzaa. Also, you must also understand Habari Gani is not just a term that we use during Kwanzaa. It's an actual bona fide greeting. And see, this is the reason why we have to teach these things. It's Swahili for what's the news. Okay, and during Kwanzaa, what normally happens is it's 7 days. Okay, so when you say Habari Gani on the first day, okay, which is Umoja, which is unity, okay, for example, right? Okay, if somebody say Habari Gani, what's the news? You would say Umoja. Okay, and that's what you would return if somebody said Habari Gani to you. Okay, each one of the days of Kwanzaa, you light a candle for that specific day with that specific principle, and you're supposed to sit down as a family and you're supposed to expound on that principle, and you enjoy the festivities of that day. Okay, but I'm gonna do a further video even more in depth about it. Also, for those of you who you want to know what the specific items are that you're supposed to have for Kwanzaa, I actually placed it, imagery there that gives you the actual Swahili name for that specific item that you're supposed to have on the altar, if you will, for Kwanzaa. Okay, and it breaks it down for you. Okay, all right. So I love you all. Appreciate you all. Have a blessed weekend. I will see you soon. I will talk to you on Monday. Okay, and we'll come back again, same station, that make us all into a new creation.